Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammāṃ Saṅghāṃ Gunutaraṃ Upajjhayaṃ Namasāmi. Last night of the retreat, so happy to welcome you all to the hermitage. So I've been living here for, this will be the 23rd year now. And when I first arrived, none of these trees were here. And the name of the hermitage is Janamara, which means victory over Mara. Mara, I think the best translation for the word Mara is the Terminator. So it's victory over the Terminator. We've had this opportunity to practice together for a few days and to learning about our mind and how to look after our mind and how to protect our mind and how to educate our minds. And I've made the point that the present moment is the classroom. Dwelling in the present moment is not the goal of practice, but it is the prerequisite, it is the necessary precondition for understanding the Four Noble Truths as a direct experience. We have included some studies, some pariyatti in the schedule. A brief half an hour or so in the morning, and the academic study of the teachings, called Pariyatti Dhamma, is to be understood in terms of these threefold development, which is pariyatti, patipatti, bhattiveta. Patipatti is practice. This Thai word bhattibat is derived from this word, and bhattiveta is the deliverance, is liberation, enlightenment. So it's the question, how much study should we do? well, we do as much study as is helpful to practice. If study becomes an end in itself, then it's no longer pariyatti. It's an accumulation of knowledge and but pariyatti is that knowledge which is aimed at and leads to passivity. And what is passivity? What is passivity? What is practice? It is that practice which is founded upon pariyatti and which aims towards passivity or liberation. The Buddha's teachings, we can never simply take one teaching out of this education system, out of the organic whole, to understand a Dhamma teaching or a virtue or whatever. We have to understand its role within the big picture. I've been reading and explaining how Samma in the Eightfold Path, it's why is it right? Why is it Samma? Because it's the views, the beliefs, the principles which form the foundation, the basis for growth in the Dhamma and for liberation, final liberation. Spoken briefly about contentment. And this is a word which is often misunderstood and taken to imply a kind of passivity. It's the idea that as Buddhists we just put up with things and don't make a fuss and let go and just be content with our lot in life. But this is not really what the Buddha taught. And Buddha is very careful that whenever he spoke of contentment, he always paired it with another virtue, and then sort of a cluster of virtues. They're not always the same virtue in each discourse, but the basic meaning being that of diligence, effort, in other words. So what the Buddha is telling us is the contentment that I'm teaching you is not an obstacle to effort, but it is, in fact, it complements effort, or is complemented by effort. So contentment is restricted to our relationship to the material world. And the idea is, how can you have maximum enjoyment, or maximum enjoyment from the minimum resources. So it makes sense if you can have the same enjoyment and basic security and well-being from a a small number of material supports, then that's superior to having the same level of comfort or enjoyment from a larger number of resources. But contentment with the material world is really appreciation. Just to say you have, let's use an example I often give of a bicycle. You have a bicycle. And so how do you relate to that bicycle? So if you are foolish, lacking wisdom, every time you're on your bike you're looking at people with motorbikes or cars and you feel jealous, or you're feeling sad, sorry for yourself. Oh, they've all got motorbikes, they've all got comfortable vehicles, and I'm still on this bicycle. But that doesn't mean that you should simply be content with the bicycle, because it's definitely preferable to travel by motorbike or by car than it is on a bicycle, especially in a hot country. Unless you're one of these people who like putting on lycra and sort of cycling all over the countryside, but generally for a sane, ordinary person. So what do? You save up your money until you've got enough money to buy the motorbike, or subsequently enough money to buy a car. So here, what is the role of contentment? The role of contentment is to prevent all these negative mental states, feeling inadequate or feeling jealous and feeling upset that you don't have what you that you want something you don't have, and it's not fair, and all those kinds of feelings. And that which can often lead to corruption or going into debt. You can't wait till you save enough money honestly to get this thing that you want, so you go into debt. And that leads to its own problems. So the idea is that while you're still in this situation where you don't have enough money for the next level of convenience, you don't suffer about what you do have. And you learn to look at it with yoniso manasikara, with, my trusty old bike, that's a love, what a nice old bike it is, and it's been my friend and my support for years, and I bought this with my own money, that I earned honestly and fairly. And then similarly with the motorbike or the first car or whatever it is, there is this sense of appreciation. Yeah, it's not the best, but there is some real meaning and some affection for it, and gratitude towards it, and contentment with it. It's not the best, it's good enough, and it's something that I have gained through my own hard work, and there's a real pleasure to that, isn't there? So this principle applied throughout the material world we live in, it doesn't mean you've got to put up with some old phone or old computer or something which is years and years old. You should be content with that. Well, if you can, and if it works okay, and it functions and it does all the things you need it to do, well, great. But it's not wrong if you want to upgrade your computer or your telephone, if it's not just, I've got to upgrade it every time so that I don't have to be embarrassed amongst my friends who always have the latest techs and latest gear. But being appreciative of what we have, being grateful for what we have, and content with what we have for the time being. One of the most beautiful phrases in the English language, for the time being. So we're content with something for the time being. So our mental state and the kusala dhammas and the akusala dhammas are always our reference point. So what is my relationship to my car, to my telephone, to my house, whatever is always, is it one in which akusala dhammas are increasing and kusala dhammas are decreasing, or is it one in which kusala dhammas increase, akusala dhammas decrease, or is it at the very least one in which there is no recognizable increase in the unwholesome, in the defilement, or decrease in wholesome? In daily life practice, one of the approaches that I would recommend is chunking. So, first time I heard that, it sounds like a city in China, but it's actually a verb, and it refers to cutting large, complex things up into small, manageable chunks. And in daily life, we can chop our daily life up into short chunks. Let's say first chunk from when you get up in the morning through to when you go downstairs for breakfast or until when you go to work. Second chunk, for example, the travelling to work. Third chunk, morning at work. Next chunk, midday, lunch, and then afternoon, and then driving or going home, and then evening. And then making that each chunk is a fresh start, and you're re-establishing your effort. One of the advantages of this is that it prevents that kind of writing off a day. You have some bad experience, or some upsetting experience, or your defilement just whips you away somewhere, and then it's like, today's a real write-off, I think. And with chunking, you say, well, that morning chunk, that was a bit of a disaster. But never mind, with a new chunk, midday, lunchtime, lunch hour, new chunk, new start. So starting again, beginner's mind. And I think this is a good way of maintaining some sort of continuity and even momentum throughout the day. Bringing mindfulness to the body is very, very useful practice, especially when there is strong emotion evoked. To say somebody does something, somebody says something, you're very hurt, you're in a difficult conversation. Bring attention to the body. One of the meditation techniques that I've developed and suggested, I've not taught it this time, is kind of a variation on body scanning, and that involves dividing the body into 4 areas. So the first area is the head, the skull, the face, the neck. That's area number 1. Area number 2 is the 2 shoulders, the arms, the hands, fingers. Area 3 is the torso. Area 4 is the body from the hips down, the legs, the knees, the shins, the calves, the ankles, feet and toes. And bringing attention to each area systematically, one by one. So in a formal meditation practice, for example, you could, 10 breaths, being aware of the breath within this area. So it's awareness of all the sensations in that area together with the in-breath, together with the out-breath. So it's mindfulness with breathing, rather than mindfulness of breathing. Mindfulness with breathing of all the sensations in this number 1 area, head area. Head, face, neck. And then maybe, 10 breaths maybe, and then 10 breaths with awareness with breathing of all the sensations in the shoulders, arms, hands, fingers. And then 10 breaths with the breathing, aware of the sensations in the chest, the lungs, the abdomen, the spine, the back, this whole central area of the body. And then the 4th area is awareness with breathing. So the breath is like a metronome. It's keeping you there in the present, with the sensations that appear in the body from the hips down to the 2 legs, the thighs, the knees, the shins, calves, ankles, feet, toes. So you can do that in sitting in a more kind of formal way. And then when you've gone 4, and then stage 5 is awareness of the whole, all 4 sections, the whole body. Breathing in and breathing out. So whole body awareness with the breathing. So I say the breath here is not so much the direct object, it's more like a metronome, or it's a framework within you're aware of sensation. And it's a good way to start off an anapanasati session also, in just developing that, coming back to that idea of contentment again. Just coming down to the body and just like saying hello to your body and what's going on right now, and just grounding yourself in the body, in the sensed body. So stage 5 was the whole body awareness, and then you can go back to stage 4 again, the lower part of the body, the hips down to the toes, and then the torso, and then the shoulders and arms, hands and fingers, and then the first, the head, the face and the neck, and then return to whole body awareness. So you can go backwards and forwards like this a few times. Now you can introduce variations to this, and you can abbreviate it rather than being, a practice in itself, which might take a few minutes to go through the body stage by stage, and depending on how many breaths, how long you want to spend on that. But if you do this frequently, you'll find that you can tune into the sensations in each area of the body more and more effortlessly. And so when you have that fluency, you have that ability in daily life, when there's some kind of stressful event going to happen, or you're getting a little bit scattered or something, you can just do this. Area 1, just a few breaths. Area 2, Area 3, Area 4, and then full body awareness of the sensed body in the present moment. Breathing in, breathing out normally. And the next stage from that is you can do it just like switches on a wall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Within a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're immediately there, fully grounded in the physical body. Within a second or 2 seconds. And as a way of coming back to yourself and re-establishing awareness, you can do this anywhere. You can do this in a lift, you can do this sitting at a desk, you can do it standing up, talking to somebody. It literally, you can do it within one breath. Just when you've developed that facility with it, that fluency, and just 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like lighting up a Christmas tree. Boom, and there you are. Yes, there. So this is also something that we recommend you try. Another practice. We give so much importance to faces, don't we? And babies can identify faces from, very shortly after they're born. And we're interested in faces. There's something about faces that draw us, and we draw conclusions from faces. Many studies have shown what's called the halo effect with regard to faces, which means that if someone has an attractive face, we tend to assume all these other virtues, that because someone has an attractive face, they're also competent, intelligent, honest, trustworthy. Completely irrational. It's just simply the instinct we have to the positive feelings that we feel from seeing a pleasant face lead us to make these automatic assumptions. And similarly with unattractive faces, we see an unattractive face and we feel like not so trustworthy. Yeah. And then there is like resting face. Some people have when they're talking and there's just animated. It's like when there's just resting face, sometimes people seem really kind of intimidating. And is he angry? No, it's just resting face. It's a kind of karma, to have a kind of disagreeable resting face. No fault of yours at all. You may be doing metta meditation. Anyway. We put so much investment, and people, with makeup and beautification of the body is so much focused on the face and the eyes and this whole area, and we take faces that express who we are. You remember during COVID, and places in the West where people were incredible resistance to covering their face with a mask. It's like it's covering who they are, their their individual essence, and he's just covering it up. And so, and we, so there's so much of our sense of self is centered here, and also it's the focus of the main sense organs, the eyes and the ears and nose, and they're all in this area as well. So this is where we identify so strongly. So this practice I have, it's falling on a little bit about my staring in the mirror anecdote the other night. You can imagine or just bring up the idea of an emotion. So you probably want to do this in private, but just imagine like you're really angry, and make the angry face, okay? And then close your eye. You're closing your eyes. And now this is your meditation, is map the sensations in your face, the unique pattern of sensations in your face, the muscles and contractions and the lowering of the lips, thinning of the lips and the eyelids and so on, that we call angry face. And so how does it feel? The sensations in your face. There's a unique pattern of sensations. And then go through a whole list of emotions in this way, and just imagine jealous face, irritated face, contemptuous face, and so on. And then the wholesome faces, the mudita face, or the I'm so happy to be here face, and whatever face it may be, your meditation is mapping, becoming aware of that unique pattern of muscle activation in your face, and the tightening and the blood flow and whatever you can be aware of. And then that becomes sanya, and that becomes a memory, and it takes away the identification with it. And then in daily life, when your face changes its expression and some emotion shows on your face, then it comes to the mindfulness of it, and you're aware of all the sensations in your face. And if you're doing it well, you keep it, then the identification with that emotion is undermined considerably. You see, we have default expressions on our face, and in terms of ego, and I don't like that word very much, but the self-sense, self-attachment to idea of self, and being grounded in the face, and also there are certain kinds of default expressions, default mental states that we tend to think that this is who we are. And that familiarity with certain recurring facial expressions, mental states, simply because they're so familiar and they recur again and again and again and again, that's where that sense of self really is very sticky, and it resides there. So we're recognizing means recognizing. We're looking anew at things that we take for granted, and things which seem obvious. And see, a lot of things that we thought were obvious were not obvious at all. So mindfulness is waking up and giving us this breathing space. They say that wherever you are, there's constant stimulation, even if you're not on social media all the time. There's always something going on, something demanding your attention. And mindfulness is creating this little bit of wriggle room, this little gap between the stimulus and the reaction, moving from the automatic reaction to mindful response, and seeing how, and not, this is, we see this is not an idea of Buddhist philosophy, but we see for ourselves this point that I made earlier on today, that nobody can make you happy, nobody can make you unhappy, nobody can make you anything mentally. We feel that's the case because we're not looking closely enough. But when there is that awareness, then we realize it's just like somebody knocking on the door. And they're not barging in, they're knocking on the door. And they'll only come in if you open the door. That's where the freedom lies. That's where the optimism that we can have in our. You don't have to open that door. You can learn how to simply sit there, and you don't have to fight with that person. You don't have to kick them out. You don't have to do anything. You just say rude words to them. Just say, "No, I'm sorry. Don't feel like it. Don't want to." So defilements, especially the more kind of chronic defilements, there's something in them that you want, that you value, that you don't want to let go of. And to really free yourself of those defilements, that is the kind of investigation that you need to do. So, what is it about this defilement? So there's some conflict in the mind. You say, well, no, who would want to be angry all the time? Why? I don't want to be angry. I don't intend to get angry. But there's something about anger. There's something in anger that you value, that you want. And unless you see that, recognize it, and be willing to renounce it, you'll never really be free of it. So that someone was asking about yoniso manasikara, and one of the forms that yoniso manasikara can take is with a phenomenist. You look at 5 things, and one is, how does this arise? Second is, how does it pass away? And seeing that in real time, and seeing the causes and conditions involved in both cases. And third is, what is the charm of it? What is the hook? What is it in that which you want, or which you don't want to let go of? And then what is the drawback? What is the suffering inherent in any attachment to that? And then finally is, what is the liberation from that? So that's obviously the next stage. But the Buddha said, until he until he could fully understand all phenomena in those 5 ways, he would not claim himself to be fully enlightened. But when he knew how things arose, how things pass away, the charm, the hook in conditioned phenomena, and the taught, the drawback, the adinawa of this phenomena, and the way to be free of attachment to it, then he only with those 5 insights was he ready to declare himself the Buddha. So this is a long practice, It's the cliche is this isn't 100 meters run, it's a marathon. But it's not. It's like 1,000,000 ultra marathons, one after another. So, be in it for the long haul. You don't know. Maybe you've already run most of those ultra marathons in the past life. Who knows? But be patient and don't compare yourself with others. And the Buddha also would say to the monks, review your practice, and when you see there are defilements that are there on a regular basis, then don't be heedless, don't make excuses, don't be discouraged, but apply diligent, measured effort to deal with those things. But secondly, when you see there is a weakening or an absence of those defilements, then learn how to rejoice in that also. And it's completely natural that on this path of practice we can be very worried or concerned about getting conceited or puffed up about any progress, and that's legitimate. But at the same time, we need to be able to draw encouragement from what progress we have made, not comparing the progress we've made with what we would like to have made or we think we should have made, and I've been doing this for this many years, I should be, we get into that whole poisonous realm of should and shouldn't. But there is movement there is change. It may seem incremental, it may not seem anything very much, but that is something, it's not nothing. So start off with that, that's not nothing. That's already something quite wonderful. If you can see something that's changed, you say, that's not nothing, that's something. And you can build on that. And the analogy that I'm sure you've heard me, I think many of you mentioned before, is of planting flowers in your garden. And so the flowers are the teachings that we receive from the Buddha and the great teachers, and we plant these flowers and we follow the instructions. And these flowers, they need to be in the shade, these flowers need to be out in the sun, these flowers need to be this kind of soil, that kind of soil, water them so many times, do this, don't do that. And you follow all the instructions, and the flowers grow, and then they suddenly they bloom, and they're so beautiful. And then somebody comes along and says, wow, what beautiful flowers. And you don't get puffed up, you say, aren't I a special person? You know, that I've got beautiful flowers in my garden. And you say, no, yeah, I've got these great seeds. This very kind person gave me seeds, and he told me how to grow them, and I did what I was told, and this is the result. You know. So this is how you can rejoice in the virtues that are gradually developing. You know, it's not like you, it's not all about you, and in fact it's the exact opposite, it's nothing about you. It's about the Dhamma. And the Dhamma is core, it's the laws, these laws of nature. And if you learn how to conform to these laws of nature and apply yourself in a way in harmony with those laws of nature, as Luang Por Somdet says in his book, then the results will come. And this is simplified in this phrase that everybody in Buddhist country, you know, you do good, you get good results, you do bad, you get bad results. There is this causal process. If you do good, goodness results. And it's not your goodness, it doesn't belong, it's the universe's goodness. You are manifesting the Dhamma. You are showing to yourself and to others that these teachings are true, that they are effective, they are timeless. The Buddhist teachings are akaliko, they're timeless. That means that they are based upon the timeless truths of the human condition. So the things that made people greedy or angry or confused in the time of the Buddha in India, and things that made people greedy, angry, confused today in Thailand or China or Singapore, Malaysia, they're different, but the emotions are exactly the same. And the way of abandoning the unwholesome and developing the wholesome, whatever their specific conditioning factors, they are the same. Because the human mind, human heart doesn't change. And these teachings are sandittika, these are not metaphysical statements which you either have to believe or reject. The Buddha is saying, you can abandon the unwholesome, you can cultivate the wholesome, you can purify your mind. And so if you hear that, then if you have any sincerity, then next step is to try to put those teachings to the test of your experience. This is what practice is. So in some religions or some teachings, like questioning the teachings and saying, hold on, I'm not sure, let me look into this, let me examine this, let me put this to the test. And it seemed to be great arrogance and sinful approach. But the Buddha calls it Patipati Puja. It's the way that you honor the Buddha. You show your devotion to the Buddha and your true faith in the Buddha by being willing to take his teachings and put them to the test. So faith in Buddhism is proved by what you do with the teachings and the extent to which you try to express them in your daily life. And so when you have that faith and you take these teachings on out of trust in the wisdom and compassion of the Lord Buddha, and you put them to the test, and then you say, yes, yeah, oh yeah, that's so true, oh yeah. And so this constant kind of reinforcement of yes moments, that feeds back into the faith. And it's a faith based upon more and more strong, less so much on trust and more on experiential faith. And so you get this movement. It's a wheel. This is one of the Dhamma wheel. The faith leads to effort, and the effort and the proving of the truth of these Sandittika Dhammas, these teachings which are verifiable, and we verify them. And then that gives us more faith in those teachings which we have not yet verified, and gives us that determination to verify further and to keep pushing onwards. And the Buddha said that prior to his enlightenment, the two factors, the two virtues that he depended on more than any other were, one, continuity of practice, and secondly, discontent with the results that he had already realized. So we have contentment with the material world, but discontent in the sense that, yeah, this is good, but always pushing on, pushing forward. And this is a wholesome discontent. So it's very easy when you've been practicing for a while and the course of defilements have fallen away and meditation is stabilized and no really coarse dukkha anymore. And that's where complacency can settle in. And so the Buddha said, don't be complacent, don't say this is good enough for me, keep pushing on, keep pushing on. Keep verifying the Buddha's teachings. Okay, so these are a few words of advice and encouragement on this last evening of our retreat. And may you take all these words and put them to the test of your experience. And if you find the things I said useful, then I give them to you freely. And if you think, what a load of rubbish, I don't, so you can just discard them and I won't be offended. But take them away and reflect on them and see whether there's something there that can help you on your path of practice.
Namayang Dhammakatha Sadhu Karang Dhamma Se Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu.
So we'll chant the verses of sharing and aspiration, page 30. First in Pali, then in English. Dhamayang Buddhisanaditana Kathayo Pranamase Imina Punya Kamena Upachaya Kunutara Acharyo Pakaracha Mata Pita Chayataka Suryo Chandi Maharaja Gunawanta Narapicha Brahma Maharaja Indacha Lokapalacha Devata Yamomita Manusacha Majjata Virika Picha Sabhe Sata Sukhi Honto Punyani Pakatani Me Sukhan Chatividang Dento Kipang Papetavo Matang Himina Punya Kamena Himina Utisena Cha Kipahang Sulabe Chewa Tanho Padhana Chetanang Ye Santane Hina Dhamma Yava Nibbana To Mamang Na Santo Sabbada Yewa Yatta Jato Mave Mave อุจุจิตังสติปัญญาสะเลโกวิริยามินามาราลพันตุโนคาสังกาตุนจาวิริเยสุเมมุทธาดิภวโรนาโตธัมโมนาโตวรุตตโมนาโตปัจเจกพุทโธจาสังนาโตตโรมะมังเทโสตมานุภาเวนะมาโรคาสังละบันตุมัง Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless. Through the goodness that arises from my practice and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth. May I have an upright mind with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Suwakato Bhagavatang Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Upati Panno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami.